with our spiritual walk with God, but also with our spiritual walk with God, because definitely God is master of all potentials, and it's also very important that you actually also have a platform where you can really display your potential in your service as you are rendering your service, either in fellowship, in that group, for instance, Balm of Gilead Academy, and many other things. You're also developing yourself, you're developing your potential. You are actually really making room for growth and ideas and innovation, while in school. So I would come again in terms of having a recap. First, your first goal is to pass your exams. I mean, potential. You have to become a medical doctor, a healthcare professional that you really dream to be. You have to experiment a lot. When I say experiment, positive experimenting, ensuring that you are not just doing it foolishly, because your time is your most precious gift. And that's why I use the word experimenting. Don't just keep failing 1,000 times on a single thing. I mean, there are so many other things that you can do. Just get what you can really do. The third thing is ensuring that you join associations, you forge those friendships, you understand yourself. That's the first thing, understanding yourself while you experiment. And then don't forget to join associations, don't forget to do that. Then don't forget your spiritual work with God. And also, a fellowship is a very fertile ground in terms of forging lifelong friendship. Most of my lifelong friends now as a medical doctor are people that I met, classmates that I worked with in my fellowship, people that I was able to work with on a long term, people that were able to call ourselves to fellowship and all those things. So they really they will make up a lot of your lifelong friends that you would meet in school. So that part must not be ignored in terms of maximizing your potentials. Then I will call it the special potential. Probably this is what a lot of people were expecting me to come and say. So this is the part of what I call the special potential session. So when I say the special potential session, is that, I mean, it's critical that you follow through with the first 4 or 5, you know, parts, in terms of, like, the ones I've already said in quotes, before. Then this is the part of, if you can, if you can do this, you can actually try to get involved in things like, politics. When I say politics, because the truth is that you might not necessarily understand some things now until you get involved in some things, while in school. So usually, how you will turn out most likely in life would be seen from the way you spend your time as a medical student. The people that really read only book, I'm seeing them now. The only thing they are reading now is only book. The people that did other things while in school, I can see them now. Most of the things that they are doing right now is people that were entrepreneurs while in school, they still have that entrepreneurship mindset and that entrepreneurship vibe, to what they do right now. So the whole thing is, check out for some special potentials that you might have. You may have a special potential in politics. That means you might want to run for, an organization, want to run for some things, while in school. Like I said, there are some things that if you do not do, you will never have a chance to do it again. I was able to become the president of my Oyo State Medical Students Association as a medical student. And even till date, I mean, till I die, I keep saying, oh, I was the former president of Oyo State Medical Students Association. And it's my CV till I die. And sometimes I'm like, wow, I mean, I'm grateful to God, because it really gave me some added advantage when it comes to some opportunities, because I can really talk about it. That I started while as a medical student. I didn't just start as a medical doctor. So things like this can really help you a lot, in distinguishing the good from the best, and then just those really minute details can really open up doors of opportunities for you, you know. But like I say, don't do this to the detriment of your primary purpose of being in school. Another thing I call special potentials apart from politics is that you could have a startup. You could have a startup in the sense that you could have, think of an idea, oh, radiography, stuff like that, or an app where you do this one and all that. You could pitch, you could pitch, you could join all things like there's this horse price challenge that I think they're still doing in school. But those are special things, are special potential. Now, when I say special potential, is that if you don't do them, don't consider yourself as a failure. Don't consider yourself you didn't do anything in school. No, as long as you can, understand yourself, experiment, pass your exams, network, forge lifelong friendship, have a spiritual experience while in school by ensuring spiritual and forging good fellowship with people. Would include things like politics, having a startup, having a maybe a group in terms of maybe you discuss very interesting things like maybe you discuss about research or some other things while in school. So they fall under the category in the ability to maximize your potential. But the whole long and short of this story is the fact that you have to really see yourself, see your life in sense of it's a gift that you're actually breathing right now. I understand how how the pressures of the exam, how the pressures of what you are going to do tomorrow, or what grades are you going to have in that test or in that exam. But it's actually a very big blessing right now that you're actually sitting down there, looking at your Zoom or watching your Zoom. And it's very key that you enjoy the process of your becoming in quotes, process of trying to be up, really go as planned. You have to just always just really see this a as a see this as like an assignment, like as a stuff that will really help you grow and excel in what you do. So I think that's one thing that you have to really understand while moving up this. And so that's really cool what we're doing. So the political, like having a startup, maybe learning research and maybe all those special skills as an added advantage for you, if you really want to engage in all this. But the truth is just that anything you can really begin while at this stage of your life, you would most likely really excel in it. If you trace most politicians in Nigeria, Adams, Oshiomhole, many of them were student union presidents. I'm not saying you have to be student union president, but if that's not on your path at this their stage. If you see the scientists that we have now, the Chukwuemeka, the NCDC boss and co, if you really trace their background, you will see a lot of they had this inclination towards the scientific and many of these things while they were while they were undergraduates. If you see the Pastor Adeboye, a lot of them, Bishop Francis Waleoke, a lot of them started, on the religious path, like becoming fellowship pastors, school fellowship pastors, as an undergraduate. So you really have to see these things from that point of view, that you can really make a lot happen in your life right now. You can really excel, you can really maximize your potential. But when it comes to one thing, if there's one thing that this should give you is this my talk should one action point for everyone here is to write your goals down. I think that's one very underestimated power in the world, one of the most underestimated power in the world. Write your goals down. What do you really want to make? That's one of the most efficient keys to maximizing your potentials. I've talked a lot about all these things. Now look at all these things and then write it down. Don't just say, oh yeah, I want to become a better person. That's a very interesting, and I don't want to use the word very vague statements. You're not becoming a better person. What do you want to become? I want to become a better writer. That's also still vague. No, I want to write 30 episodes or 500 words of this thing. Now you're talking. I want to have delivered and written 3 speeches before the end of this year. Now you're talking. So make it as actionable as possible. Don't write, I want to pass my exam. No, I want to pass my anatomy physiology stuff at one sitting. Write your goals down. If there's one action I really want to call you to make, is writing your goals down. I read a book by Brian Tracy. It was called No Excuse. I always have 10 to 15 goals every time in my life. It makes me push forward. It makes me launch ahead, towards the next big thing in my life. And when people say, oh, you are doing enough, I really believe that we can do much more. Yeah, it's not as a matter of, trying to be try to be grateful. I'm always grateful for everywhere I am. I always see it as an opportunity to even be here talking to young brilliant minds that that would shake Nigeria in the next few years. And the only difference between me and you people is time. And basically it's just a gift to be here, but we can do much more. You can be able to um push yourself to do it, excel in things that you do. You might fail and do a lot along the way, but you can really do much more. I remember like 3 months ago when I received an email from these guys from Lancet, and I was like, oh yeah, your article will be successfully published in Lancet. I mean, first I was I don't want to use the word surprise, because considering the fact that I failed so many times with the same Lancet. And while I was publishing, guys were like, oh yeah, Lancet are for too much big boys. If you're not a professor, you cannot really publish in the Lancet. And me, just a doctor, I don't even have a PhD yet, and all of that. And like just that goal and just the urge to just push forward in my research career after publishing so many articles. I'm like, okay, I want to get the Lancet. That's like the most famous journal in medical sciences. And yes, I'm going to get it. And getting that really made me appreciate that process of, if you put a goal and you set it, and you really pray to God and you really push yourself and learn, and fail and try again and fail and try again and fail and try again, you will succeed. It was Lancet Global Health, and they were like, and then I was telling, my colleagues, which we wrote this paper together, and I was like, wow, we finally did this. But the truth was just that without the failure, without the process, without the goal setting process and putting it down, on paper, not just having your goals in your head, but putting it on paper, you might not achieve what you want to achieve. So I this rounding this up with goal setting is very critical to me, because without that, you wouldn't really have something to target. And when you don't have something to target, cannot be laser focused for you to achieve, and your potentials, and be able to maximize your potential while in medical school. So I believe that you can really do much more. I believe you should see much more than the big picture of you only passing your exams. But if you can do only that, you have at least tried at least more than 50%. Like I said, passing exams is very key. But I really want you to go ahead more than passing your exams. Allocate the time that you used in gisting about some other things, like different other shows and all that on TV, to learning and developing your lives in other areas. I watch TV, I watch football, I watch Barcelona and Real Madrid. I did all that in school, but I wasn't able to do some things like just aimless gisting for hours. I would rather be preparing for a speech against, Tedder Hall, or, Zeke Hall, or something like that, or preparing some administrative functions, some administrative tasks, then, and now I'm reaping the benefits. So the whole thing is that you have to put in the work now, and you have to really see yourself as a work in progress. But one key thing before actually I really leave is the fact that you have to set goals. So thank you very much. So I will be expecting your questions.
Wow. This has been such an awesome session. And I hope many of you were following all the things you said. I'm not going to do a recap because I want us to maximize time as much as possible. But he talked about developing your potentials generally, emphasizing the fact that your primary reason here is to pass exams. I think it's very, very critical, because being a doctor is not a small thing. Being a doctor can be a vehicle for you to achieve any other thing you want to achieve much more easily. So I don't think you should trade that for anything. I've met a lot of people that told me they have with wisdom and smartness, still graduate as a doctor, then focus on what else you want to do. So I think that's very, very important. It's focus on some other things about association, about extracurricular activities and several things. But, kind of things, it's important you have very, very clear goals. Many years ago when we started Check, we were talking about taking over cities and communities. And it looked so impossible. And let me tell you the truth, at several points, we felt like giving up. In fact, it was at the point where we had enough reasons to give up that suddenly people began to notice us from strange places. A king began to look for us. And that was how we had our first outreach to a kingdom. Then we had the next thing we're going to have was the secretary of the traditional the Obas and chiefs of Oyo State, Oba, inviting us for a more big outreach at the Womosho. When they invited us, I thought it was a joke. Until when we got to the palace and realized that, wow, before you know it, we started getting calls from different continents of the world to assist organized outreaches. So you can imagine what happens when you have a clear goal. And for example, this group we have now, we have a clear goal, and I think I discussed with Dr. Olufadewa that, you see, I think Nigeria has hope when it comes to the healthcare system. I don't know how, but I just believe that Nigeria can become one of the leading countries in healthcare by the year 2030. But I'm so convinced that if it happen, it will depend on guys like you. Young people like you, at that time, you will practically be at the peak, and that's why this session we're going to be doing monthly, I take it very, very seriously. And I'm happy at the guests we've had. I'm happy that they have exposed their hearts. I don't think I have much regrets. But if I have any regret, it's that I wish that I knew some things much earlier. Some things I understand about leadership now, I wish I knew it much earlier. I guess I would have started having better results much earlier. And I want to hope you guys are taking the things you're listening very, very seriously. Dr. Olufadiwa talked about his publication in Lancet. I really hope some of you know what Lancet is. That's like one of the Bibles of medicine. One of the practically the leading publication, in medicine all over the world. And, when I heard about it, I was like, wow. And I'm sure he will not have time to tell us about everything. But I believe it's a starting point. And I'm sure after he's done, he will let us know how to access him. Of course, I can't do that for you. He probably will let us know how. I don't think you want to release his number to everyone, except he wants to do it as a privilege. But I'm sure there are other places to access him, probably by LinkedIn and all that. I want to challenge you to make the best of this opportunity. Mentorship is very, very, very powerful. I don't joke with it. And it's what has been helping me, understand. So I think we can take questions now. So please just drop your questions and we'll take the questions and we'll end the session right quickly. So please, can we drop our questions? You can type them. For those that can say it out, I think we should allow them to say it. But those that can type, I think you should type so that we can take all the questions together. We just have about 15 minutes more. Yeah. I hand over back to you, Dr. Olufadiwa, please.
All right, so please, if you have questions, you can put it on the chat box or you can say it.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Bell.
Okay, thank you very much for this session. It was very enlightening and inspiring as well. Just to ask, I'm currently in theory level, about to write first MB, and I curriculars that I'm involved in writing. So I've published a couple of review articles with some people, but like I feel like personally, I'm just like I feel like it's slow, or maybe because I'm not reading something very like done anything. So I don't know like where to go from here. I've attended like courses on research writing and all of that. But then my friends that have been writing interested, and then I'm just there, and I know that this develop. So I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Thank you, Christabel. So other questions, so I can just take all the questions at once.
Good evening, sir.
Good
Good evening,
evening.
sir. Sir, please, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for the enlightening session. I would like to ask, in the aspect of you experimenting and being adventurous in medical school, I want to ask, because medical school it's a place where you already don't have so much time. So I want to ask, how do you distribute that time to all the activities you're involved in such a way that you're able to give your best in all those things that you're involved in? And then one, it's not like you're just occupying positions and you're not really making impact or something, or you are not able to give your best in all those things that you're involved in, and then you're also not, it's also not affecting your academics negatively. So how do you allocate that little time that you have amongst all the extracurricular activities you may be involved in such a way that you're very productive and very, you're able to give your best in those things that you're doing? I also want to ask that, is it also advisable to go in that part, or is it much more preferable to maybe go one step at a time and know that, okay, at a particular point in time, this is what I'm involved in and I'm dedicated to this, and then maybe at another point in time, this is what I am involved in? Or is it advisable to just do quite a number of things at the same time? I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say, sir.
Yeah, I get you.
Those are my questions. Thank you, sir.
So any other question?
There are two questions in the chat box. I don't know if you've seen that. Well, but I think we can still take other questions. It might mean we'll take some extra time.
Yes,
Dr. Olufai, what's the question in the chat box?
yes, I can see the question in the chat box too.
Yeah.
So I will address. So I think I should just first address the 4.
Sir? Okay.
I would address the first 4 questions, so at least you can really move on from them. Christabel, though you were really breaking while you were asking your question, I think you were saying something like you were writing review articles or something like that.
Okay. Sorry, sir. I was saying
Yes.
that research writing is, I'm involved in a couple of other extracurricular activities, but research writing is the most recent of them, and it's something that I feel I want to really develop. Papers that have been published already, but it seems like the whole, because my that I was trying to like learn it, I'm just too busy, or they are not just as passionate about it, and then I don't know. I just feel like stuck. I've taken a couple of courses online, but then I don't know.
Did you say you have been published? Did you say you have been published too?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. In what level?
I'm in 300 level.
Oh, that's great. That's nice. I mean, when I was in 300 level, I didn't even know what was called research. So I think you're really doing well. I think you're really progressing well. So I think one thing that really helps in terms of research is actually belonging to a group of people. And then when you guys can really take yourself accountable, and where you can always just really push the boundary of what you can really achieve in terms of research. So they are quite it's either you get a group within your class, join an external group, join like people that where people can really mentor you in terms of research and many other things. So I belong to one, that's the Right Health Initiative Research Academy. So that is that really is So like it's a group that is really like about research and many other things. But the most important thing is just that it's a group that can really help you go forward and achieve your results faster when it comes to research. And I think Deborah's question, which is the second question I'm going to be taking right now, is a very important question, which is that I think integrity really matters. So don't overdo, don't do what you cannot do. And first is the fact that while doing most of all these things, I did it at several periods of time. So I didn't do everything within one level. I tried hockey in 100 level. I said that more this sport, my back will break, you know. And when my back will break finish, I'll not be able to achieve my number one goal that I came to school for, which is pass my exams. So I dropped it. Then again, it was so much, it was so time demanding and many other things. And then that's one thing. I mean, in terms of that. But while I was doing the sport, I did all the trainings and I participated in all of them. Like I wasn't missing them. I wasn't missing out on them. But something I've really noticed about myself, like I said, while you're experimenting, you should also understand yourself. When I don't have many things, I don't want to use the word many things I'm doing. Like when I don't have some other things I'm doing, life becomes so boring for me. So it's like I can't really, I'm struggling through it. So while some people can just be reading only books, I cannot just be that kind of person. So for instance, when I was playing hockey, I was always waking up at 5:30 a.m. I would go to the field. I stayed in Sultan Bello Hall. I would run around that 12 times, 15 times, run around the football pitch, because I needed to, because if you see me, I'm not that big and all that. So I had to exercise my stuff so that I can even really go through the rigors, because hockey was like times two of the strength you used to play football. Just really keep fit. But the whole thing is just that it really helps. It really improves you. It really improves your mental health and many other things. In 200 level, I did more football. Then I didn't do much. 300 level, I moved from football to coaching. I'm just really saying, I mean, as I was feeling, I was canceling them. Like I thought, I know this one. Then again, I was even really thinking, I was just really doing that as a pastime. So I really had goals for each thing I was doing. The ones I was just doing for the fun of it, just for the curiosity of really learning another sports. That was why went into all that. I really loved coaching and many other things. There are some that will come in at different times. For instance, post MB Cup will come in at different other times. I did editorial board in 100 level. I kept doing editorial board almost all through the stuff, but editorial board was something that writing does not really take time. But the old truth is, if when it comes to time management or when it comes to doing things, so and then most of the political or whatever positions I was holding, I held it in different levels. So the truth is, you really want to be effective in everything you do. So for almost everything I did, I could lay claim to like different solid accomplishments that we achieved during that period in time. For instance, when I was Zonsa president, we did Amalade, we did all the usual things. We went to Legacy Beach, all those usual things. Because the truth is that you have to be effective. Because one area of effectiveness in one area, it really transfers to another area. And when I was in the editorial board, we were able to produce a magazine. But what am I saying of is that you should always just take up things that you would always deliver on. When you don't deliver on one task, it really affects other tasks. That's what I really noticed over the time. So don't take on too much than you can do. But there was one secret I really learned, which is mean that you actually really have so much more time than you really think you have. So as a medical student, if you really look at the time you're actually using to study, you will discover that there's so much other time that you are not accounting for. And those unaccounted time, you can do magic with them. How long does it take to attend an editorial board meeting? 1 hour. How long does it take to do maybe writing or maybe working with maybe in a research group or something every week, maybe max 2 hours? I mean, some people actually would stay in a friend's room for 3 hours in medical school discussing about the latest gist in class and so many other things. Not like it's not good to not know the latest gist in class, but when I want to know latest gist in class, I know it's within class when the teacher is not around. But the whole thing is that you would have to really schedule your time, and yes, there would come a time where you also have to sacrifice for what the other things that you are doing. So for instance, for me, sometimes I would discover that, wow, I've not really learned a test very well. I've not really read for an exam very well. But don't be like me. Don't stop. I would sometimes read over the night till like 3 a.m. before sleeping, and then wake up by 7. have some time that you can really use to do all this. I can see that the time is almost going, so I will just really take the other ones. So when did I start writing? So I started writing in school, and then I also was in editorial board. People were already.
Sorry, Isaac. I think we can still take an additional session. I understand that it's good, of course. We have to consider people's data, but I think if we need to actually address some of those questions, we won't always. This is not an everyday meeting, so I think we can share as much as possible. But of course, we still want time. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. So so when did I start writing? So for me, so I started writing. That was in 100 level. I had a classmate who was always writing poems and all of that. I was like, wow, so you write poems? So you're a poet, and all of that. And then, we really just got really interested in writing. And then more of my skills were refined by, I had to deliver, publications or, write-ups, articles almost every week. Is those accountability sessions that really makes you grow. If you say you want to be a writer and you're just sitting down in your room and be a writer, you're not going to write anything. You're just deceiving yourself. That's the truth. You have to put actions to what you are doing. If you're a writer, you want to be a researcher, you have to join a group that they can hold you accountable for what you are doing. You can, for instance, people that work with me, I give you a deadline. Because I give you a deadline, you will, you wake up, you will, that research article must be, the draft must be ready as at that time. So in those kind of environments, it's easy to flourish, it's easy to grow because of the day-to-day and demands and the output that is really needed. Because nobody, like in a group, everybody really wants to feel good, everybody wants to really feel like they're smashing their goals and many other things. So I think that's that about like writing and how making them. Definitely people will definitely know about your writing. Anything you do, people really know about it. In terms of, if you, for instance, when you're writing, you would definitely post on your board, or you would publish it in a magazine. People already see your writing, people read your writing. I had people from other fellowship, then RCF, all of them. Wow, I saw your The Grace Life, it was really wonderful, it was really marvelous, it ministered to me. That's how people you're a great writer. You can have a blog, WordPress blog, where you can also do some writings and all that. So that is very key to that. Now, somebody asked a question: what's the main advantage that you have seen of studying abroad? So one advantage in terms of studying abroad is the fact that you have engaged with people who love what they do. That's one key advantage I've really noticed. So we have a lot of people that do not love what they do in Africa. They just do it as a time of routine or boredom. But most times when I go abroad, like, wow, these people really love what they do and they are proud of what they do. Whether they're a cleaner, and it really shows in how they go about their team.
Hello?
I guess it has been locked out. This meeting will end in less than a minute, so I'll just urge every one of us to click on the same link and log in back. Thank you.